Yo, what's good with you? Back in black with another enlisted video. If you guys are new to the channel and you love shooting games just like me, make sure you aim for that like button and shoot that subscribe button as well. It'll help you find better teammates and improve your skill-based matchmaking. Today we are back with some more enlisted map ratings, and today in particular we're taking you back to the European campaign because we are doing Stalingrad and we are doing Berlin. Reason I'm cramming both of these campaigns into the same video is because they look so samey from a very aesthetic standpoint, and I guess like just look at the buildings architecturally, they look very similar. And Stalingrad only has a few maps anyways. Not only that, the Stalingrad event is going on right now, so I figured it would be very appropriate to cram it in the video with the Berlin maps as well. So let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? First map we have up for the Stalingrad campaign is going to be Communist Street, and I hope YouTube doesn't have like a problem with me saying that, considering the balloon stuff that has been going on recently. But I actually enjoy this map very much. I think it has very nice progression. I usually play it on defense because I'm playing the Russians whenever I actually do play Stalingrad, which is not very often. But I do enjoy the different aspects of the enemy having to cross the vast expanses of train tracks or open field. That makes it very useful for the tanks and planes, but essentially what you're fighting over is very large buildings and structures, and then from inside those actual structures the fighting becomes very close quarters oriented, and then essentially whoever has more submachine guns or automatic weapons wins. For that dichotomy that is presented with this map, I'm gonna have to give Communist Street a solid B tier. I like it a lot. Next map that I want to talk to you guys about is the recently released and very infamous tractor plant. And this map is very unique for a good amount of reasons. The first is that this map single-handedly revitalized the Stalingrad campaign. I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware that Stalingrad is probably 9 times out of 10 the least played campaign in the game, which if you think about it is why they're probably running the current event that they're running right now to get the player numbers up for this campaign in particular. But yeah, when this map actually came out, it was so well done to a point that it actually probably boosted the numbers for this campaign by at least 20% as far as the player count is concerned. Not only that, this is one of the only maps in the Stalingrad campaign that tries to stand out aesthetically from its competitors. Reason being is that you're fighting over a giant tank factory or a tractor factory that was converted into a tank factory. That changes up the gameplay immensely from the room to room and street to street. Sometimes on the train tracks type of fighting that you normally would get in Stalingrad and Berlin for that matter. But yeah man, very unique map. Gonna have to give it a S tier honestly. Third map we're going to be talking about today in our Stalingrad campaign is Gogol Street, which I think is one of the more straightforward maps in the campaign. I don't think there's anything too stand out cool about it. I mean, it does feature the fallen fighters capture point on it, so I guess that's pretty cool. And I will say, if you are attacking on that map, not more often than not are going to have a hard time, because a lot of it is running down a pretty wide open street, which tanks can usually post up on the other side far down, and you're going to have a hard time unless you're really good about your flanking, which a lot of enlisted players are not for some odd reason, especially if they're bots. So take that for what you will. You have to really kind of know what you're doing if you're going to win on that map. If you are attacking, defending is another entirely different story, but I will talk about that maybe in another video. I'm just ranking the map. So like I said, pretty straightforward. I don't think there's anything too awesome about it. I'm gonna have to give Gogol Street a solid C tier, unfortunately. We got a couple more maps here in the Stalingrad campaign. First one we're gonna take a look at is the gameplay that you're watching right now actually, which is univermag. And with univermag, like, this gameplay right here doesn't really give you a good grasp of what the map is like because we put them to the first point of time. But essentially what I will say about it is that the only really fun parts about this map is when you're fighting at the Gorky Theater or if you're actually fighting at the Univermag, because aside from that, it's just like the rest of the Stalingrad campaign. You're running down the street fighting either long range in the middle of the street or you're fighting close range in the buildings if you actually have to capture those buildings. And the only buildings that they really have for the most part is apartment complexes that have been bombed out, and is a bunch of rubble, which sometimes they let you take advantage of the verticality, sometimes they don't. It really just depends. But essentially what I get at when I play this is that if I really wanted this gameplay, I would just, you know, go play Berlin, which has been out longer, and I think is done slightly better than Stalingrad is, if I'm being completely honest, which I already gave my whole opinion on that. I will link the video somewhere above the screen. You can just look up and you can watch that if you want to. But yeah, man, I mean, it's not an amazing map, it's not a horrible map. I'm gonna have to give univermag I should start doing like C+ and C- and stuff like that, but I'll give this one a B tier. Last map in the Stalingrad campaign that I even can talk to you guys about is Central Station, which, if I have to be completely honest about Central Station, is a poor man's version of the Berlin version of a train station map. I guess it's if you consider the two-story aspect of it, but I still feel like the Berlin version of a train station map was done way better. And not only that, I think it is another one of those maps that makes me feel like the game mode Conquest was just completely cut or evaporated from Enlisted, because I rarely ever get it, and I've been playing Stalingrad campaign all yesterday again because of the event. But neither here nor there, let's go ahead and transition into the Berlin campaign, which I think is a much more refined version of urban combat, if I'm being completely honest. So surely you guys will enjoy this section a lot more, but let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. First map I want to talk to you guys about from the Berlin campaign is one of my personal favorites, called Railway Bridge. I guess you could also call it Silo Heights, but I guess they didn't want to be historically accurate with the naming. Neither here nor there. This map is unique in the fact that there was an entire game mode invented based off of this map, and I play it very often. It's, you know, the train escort mission. Basically, that was the reason this map was made, and I think that is very, very awesome. Not only that, this map is good for planes, it's good for tanks, it's good for infantry, if you know how to stay by the buildings for cover anyway, and it moves in a very linear fashion. And not that that's always what I want to play or what I want my gameplay to feel like, but I feel like they do it very, very well, especially in this campaign, especially for this map. And the simple fact that they made a whole game mode predicated on moving in a linear fashion, protecting a train escort mission, I think that's very, very awesome. And for that reason, I have to get I have to give this map a S tier. Let me know if you agree though, because some people might not agree. Although I would say that this is one of the more unique, another reason this is one of the more unique maps in the Berlin campaign is the vast openness and countryside that you're fighting on, in comparison to the urban warfare that is pretty prevalent throughout the rest of the map. So again, you know, just let me know what you think. But again, I'm going S tier for this one. Next up in the Berlin campaign is another one of my favorite maps, which is the Reich chancellery, which, funny thing about this map is that it's really good on invasion and it's really good on conquest as well, which is one of the very niche things I can say about any map in this game. And not only that, it's the only 5-point conquest map in the game, so that makes it even more unique than it already was. And then the last thing I'll say about it is that this map just has a general very, very large and vast significance as it pertains to World War II, because again, this is basically taking over the, you know, whole like Capitol building as far as the Third Reich is concerned. So, you know, it's just fun to play on and run down those super long, prestigious and pristine hallways of the German architecture that was obviously well built and very well suited for the close quarters fighting, whether you're playing as the Germans or the Russians, because the weaponry that is available in this campaign is just top notch, because it's about the end of World War II, is about as good as it's going to get for this type of game. So I'm going to have to give the Reich chancellery a solid, I'm gonna go A tier for Reich chancellery. Ever so ironically and conveniently, next map I want to talk to you guys about is already on the screen. We are talking about Kroll Opera House, and what I really enjoy about this map is that the first half of it is so heavily predicated on intense close quarters urban warfare, especially when you're trying to take over that opera house. And then even from the second point, it's like you're fighting in these very tight, narrow, thin hallways. But after you get past that, it kind of spreads out into a more open field kind of warfare, which I really appreciate. That, like, you know, switch up between the, you know, weaponry that is most effective when you're actually doing these type of engagements. That being said, I don't have too much to say about it, but I will go ahead and say Kroll Opera House is definitely another A, if not S tier. But I'm probably going to say A just to be safe, because it doesn't have any super niche standout features. You know what I'm saying? Next map up on our Berlin list is Ministry Garden, and I'm not going to lie to you, I kind of struggled to find the difference or the real big difference between this and Hermann-Göringstrasse, but I will say that I do like it very much because essentially I would say that Ministry Garden is more so focused on the interior, like catching the buildings and whatnot. Well, no, I can't even say that because Hermann-Göringstrasse, you have to literally catch that giant building called the Hermann-Göringstrasse. Whereas with the Ministry Garden, it kind of ends up at Hitler's bunker, and then Hermann-Göringstrasse kind of ends up where you're fighting at the main office inside the Reichstag. So, I mean, honestly, if I had to be real with you, I would say they're about the same map, but I like them both very much. So I'm going to give Ministry Garden a B, and then I'm going to give Hermann-Göringstrasse an A because they're essentially the same map, if I'm being completely honest with you, and I don't see another reason to make a whole nother clip or a slide talking about a map that is essentially a left side and a right side difference, you know what I'm saying? Next up in the Berlin campaign is definitely a contender for top 3 maps in the Berlin campaign, generally speaking, because we are talking about königsplatz, and what I really enjoy about this map is that it features one of the best, or I shouldn't say best, I should say one of the most fun choke points to fight over in all of Enlisted, and I'm talking about that bridge that goes over that giant river. And the reason that I enjoy that so much is basically it's a funnel for infantry, tanks, and planes where they can all excel, especially if you build like heavy MG nest, or if you have like really good tank skills and you just sit on the other side and you can literally start streaking on every other tank, whether that be Russian or German, that tries to make its way towards the bridge. It's essentially whoever gets there first can have a blast. But neither here nor there, like I said, definitely features one of the most fun choke points or capture points to fight over in the entire game. So I'm going to have to give königsplatz an S tier. You know, upon further inspection, I'm starting to realize that some of these Berlin maps are essentially very much so like 90% clones of other maps, because moat is essentially just Kroll Opera House but coming from a different angle. That being said, I don't really have too much to say about it. I do like playing on it, but again, it's essentially attacking from the east instead of attacking from the west, so I'm gonna have to give it like a C tier, you know what I'm saying? Nothing special about it. Coming up next, we are getting towards the end here. We got to talk about werbig Station, and werbig Station, I really like this map. I actually get a jolt of energy and excited when I see this map pop up. The same thing kind of goes for railway crossing as well, and the reason is pretty similar. Again, it's a very nice contrast and switch up to the dark, grungy urban warfare that you typically get with most of the Berlin maps. This is more like sunny, more nature driven, and a lot more open and expansive. So if you ever want a reason to pull out your Car 98s, then this is definitely the map that you should do it on. So I'm going to give werbig Station a solid S tier as well, because I really enjoy playing on this map with all game modes. The map coming up next is definitely the Berlin map that feels most similar to Stalingrad, and I'm talking about Wilhelmstrasse. Not that Wilhelmstrasse is a bad map, but it's more so that this map is very generic, whereas you don't really have much room to work with when you're using tanks and or planes because of the amount of buildings and the amount of rubble that is on the street. But playing infantry on this map is actually very entertaining and fun to me, especially when I am well, honestly, whether I'm attacking or defending, it just depends on whether my team is good or not, whether I have a good time. But I don't really have anything bad to say about this map, and I actually do enjoy it every time that I do play on it, even though it is the map that I have more than likely played the most when I have played the Berlin campaign. This map pops up very often. So, all that being said, I'm going to give Wilhelmstrasse a solid B tier. I think you could argue that I saved the best Berlin map for last, or at least one of my personal favorite maps in the game, and I am talking about Lehrter Bahnhof. And this map is so good that before I even fathomed the idea of making a tier list for Enlisted, I made a whole video for this map by itself, and I'll put that up there as well, so look out for that if you want to watch it. But yeah, man, this map is really reminiscent of Operation Metro from Battlefield for me. Not that it's like nearly as, you know, expansive or well made, because I think Battlefield developers are on a whole different level from Enlisted developers, but that's a whole nother topic for another video as well. Neither here nor there. When I play on it, if I had to imagine what playing Operation Metro would be like in a World War II setting, and like, you know, I think they nailed it as far as like just giving me that tight, close quarters, like push in a certain direction kind of feel that Battlefield always gives you when it comes to their breakthrough game modes. And I just, every time I play on it, I enjoy it. Not that you can't use tanks on it, but they're severely limited in that you have to use them either on the outside of the train station or you could bring them in, but then they're easily flanked by infantry. So planes are pretty non-effective on this map as well. What I really enjoy about that is that essentially all you really have to rely on is your strategic know-how and your gun skill. And maps that kind of make you like, or help certain players who excel at certain things, like get an advantage over other people. So essentially you can specialize or do better on one map than another map. I really appreciate things like that. So when it comes to giving me that, you know, feeling that I would appreciate from another game, a good aesthetic, and then just good gameplay all around where you don't have to rely on vehicles nearly as much as you do on any other map in Enlisted, I'm going to give Lehrter Bahnhof an S tier. And just to kind of summarize my thoughts on the Stalingrad campaign and the Berlin campaign in general, when it comes to Stalingrad, I really do feel like it's kind of just a poor man's version of Berlin, because if you look at it, it kind of just looks like a lot of the same assets were reused over again, and they were like, oh, we got to get another campaign in here and say we got more content, and it's like that could have been used in so many other different aspects. Like we could have got a market garden, we could have got a battle of the Bulge, we could have got Sicily or Italy, anything of that nature. So I don't hate Stalingrad in itself, and you know, it's cool that it's in the game and anybody who likes it, that's fine. It's just that I felt like those resources and assets could have been better used in a different you know, scenery or whatever the case may be, since we already have Berlin to begin with, and Berlin is a lot more refined and better looking, and the guns are better as well. So that's kind of how I feel about that. You let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. I do appreciate you guys for watching. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Don't forget to shoot that like button and aim for that subscribe button as well. Black Guy out.